Hello students, and welcome to section 2.4, complex numbers. Now the warm-up today initially was intended to be the first time that you saw this problem, although we've already discussed it as you recall in a prior lesson. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to forego that question, but I do certainly recommend that you take another look at it just to kind of see again how we were able to formulate all the different parts. To begin today, the imaginary unit I. Simple equations such as x squared plus 1 equals 0 do not have a real solution. We need a number whose square is negative 1. So we use I. If you recall from Algebra 2, I is called the imaginary unit, and it's defined as such. I squared equals negative 1. Or, if you're just looking at I on its own, we take the square root of both sides of this equation, and therefore I is equal to the square root of negative 1. By adding real numbers to multiples of the imaginary unit, we get the set of complex numbers, defined as such. The set such that a plus bi, a is real, b is real, and I squared is equal to negative 1. So for example, the square root of negative 9 minus 5 would be equal to the square root of negative 1 times 9, differentiating those two parts, such that, and then minus 5 still, such that, well, the square root of negative 1 we just set as I. Easily enough, the square root of 9 is 3. We still have minus 5. So putting it all together in the form of a plus bi, we see here negative 5 plus 3i is our final answer. A plus bi is the standard form for a complex number. A is called the real part, and bi is the imaginary part. As we move on, equality of complex numbers. Two complex numbers, a plus bi and c plus di, are equal to each other if and only if a equals c and b equals d. Now, operations with complex numbers turns out to add and subtract two complex numbers. We add and subtract the two real parts, then add and subtract the two imaginary parts. That is, the sum, which is a plus bi plus c plus di, ends up being a plus c plus b plus d separate to those two quantities, but b plus d times the quantity I. The difference is similar, same quantity here minus that quantity there, but a minus c plus b minus d I. Note that the additive identity of the complex numbers is 0. Furthermore, the additive inverse of a plus bi is negative, parentheses a plus bi, which is equal to negative a minus bi. To add or subtract the following complex numbers, so you see 6 minus 3i plus 1 plus 2i. These can be split up accordingly, so 6 plus 1. As you can see, the a's can be added separate. And then negative 3i plus 2i, so of course those can be added. This ends up being 7, and this of course adds to negative I. There's your final answer in standard form. Next, part B, 5 minus I minus the quantity 2 minus 4i. Notice I've distributed the negative, turning this into a negative 2, and this into a positive 4i. So we have 5 minus 2, and then negative I minus 4i. Correction, plus 4i, because we've already, of course, distributed the negative here appropriately. So you've got 5 minus 2, which is 3, negative I plus 4i, which is 3i. Many properties of real numbers are valid for the complex numbers: associative, commutative, and distributive properties. So for example, 2, if we're multiplying the following complex numbers, noting 2 times this quantity 17 minus 5i, we distribute the 2, we end up with 34, and then here, negative 10i. Part B, this is a FOIL situation, so we have 3 minus I times the quantity 5 plus 4i. Must have gotten cut off a little bit, so it speaks to why the 3 and the 5 are a little bit different looking. But if you FOIL, so 3 times 5, 15, and then 3 times 4i, 12i, negative I times 5, so negative 5i, and then last, negative I times 4i, negative 4i squared. Noting I squared is equal to negative 1. We can add our like terms here, so that's 7i, and then 15 plus 4, because negative 4 times negative 1, of course, is positive 4. 15 plus 4 is 19. Final answer, 19 plus 7i. These are questions that you can actually type in your graphing calculator. There is a feature on your graphing calculator, if you hit second decimal point, you're able to type these in and see really how these nicely unfold in this manner. I want to get my calculator open here, and then when we move on to other questions, we can go ahead and maybe check out how that works. For part C, we'll take a look here where we have 1 plus 7i, that quantity being squared. Now that's going to dictate then us rewriting 1 plus 7i times 1 plus 7i. So there's another FOIL approach that we have to apply. First, 1 times 1 is 1. Outside 7i, inside 7i, so we'll be adding those two like terms. Then 7i times 7i, which ends up being 49i squared. Yet again, anytime you see an I squared, make sure that you convert it to -1, so that in the end we have 1 minus 49, because 49 times -1 is -49. That ends up being -48. 7i plus 7i, of course, is 14i. So let's take a moment on the graphing calculator, and let's type in 1 plus 7i quantity squared. So if we type this in, we're going to go ahead and see 1 in parentheses, 1 plus 7 and then second decimal point, and then parentheses squared. The calculator does know what I represents, and there you have it. -48 plus 14i. There it is. And you could do that with many of these questions. You cannot take the square root of a negative number on your calculator. However, you can check to see that, for example, I squared is in fact what we expect it to be, which there is, of course, -1. So the calculator is programmed to do that basic operation. Can't do all square roots, of course, but in this case it can work with I in the context of squaring that complex number. Similarly, part D, 4 plus 5i times 4 minus 5i. If we FOIL first, outside, inside last, we get 16. Inside -20i, outside is -20i, while inside is positive 20i. Those add, as you can see, to 0. They cancel essentially to 0. And then -5i times positive 5i, that's -25i squared. I squared being -1, so you've got a negative times a negative, which ends up being a positive. 16 plus 25, 41. As a tip, note that in the last example, we took a product of two complex numbers and got a real number. This leads to our next topic, the topic of complex conjugates and division. Two complex numbers of the form a plus bi and a minus bi are called complex conjugates. Note how their product is a real number. So a plus bi times a minus bi. If we FOIL this, outside and inside will always cancel. As a matter of fact, you see that kind of in a sense where they're just simply writing the first and last terms being kind of represented. Outside and inside cancels completely, and I squared, because it's -1, a negative times a negative ends up being a positive. So the end result is always a squared plus b squared. On the last example, a squared plus b squared ended up just being 41. So we'll now use this fact to divide complex numbers. As a rule of thumb, you can't leave I in the denominator of a fraction. Similar to if you were dealing with a square root problem, you can't leave a square root in the denominator of a fraction. So the original problem looks like this, 2 over 1 minus I. So what we do is we multiply both numerator and denominator by the conjugate, similar to if this was, let's say, 1 minus the square root of a number, like 1 minus root 2. The conjugate of 1 minus root 2 is 1 plus root 2. So similarly, you're going to multiply by 1 plus I, both numerator and denominator. Beautiful thing will unfold here, particularly in the denominator, wherein if you FOIL the denominator, you get 1 minus I squared, which is in fact -1. 1 plus 1, of course, is 2. So we're now looking at a situation where we no longer have I in the denominator, which is great. We still have to distribute the 2 to the numerator, so 2 plus 2i. This is technically not as far as we want to take it, so let's divide out such that 2 over 2 and 2i over 2 can be split up accordingly. 2 halves is 1, again 2 halves being 1. Your final answer, simplified fully, is 1 plus I. Part B. This one's a little bit more involved because you happen to have in the numerator 2 minus I, and in the denominator 4 plus 3i. Still though, notice the multiplication. This is the conjugate, 4 minus 3i. The conjugate of 4 plus is simply 4 minus their 3i. So of course, multiply numerator and denominator. We're going to FOIL the denominator such that we get 16. Outside, inside really are easily enough going to cancel, so we don't need to not necessarily write that. Last, however, is negative 9i squared. Notice I squared is negative 1. In the numerator, if you FOIL, you'll get 2 times 4, which is 8. Outside, negative 6i. Inside, negative 4i. And last, positive 3i squared. Noting again, I squared is equal to negative 1. We got some terms to combine. 8 minus 3, of course, 5. Negative 6 minus 4, negative 10. Don't forget I. And in the denominator, 6 plus a positive 9. Or 16, that is, plus a positive 9. 16 plus 9, of course, is 25. I can split up 5 25ths. I can split up negative 10 25ths. I reduce this to 1/5 and reduce that to 2/5. Don't forget your final answer, which technically can also be typed in on the calculator. Maybe we'll show that here in a moment, is in standard form. So 1/5 minus 2/5 I. So just to kind of double check, is 2 minus I in parentheses divided by parentheses. Make sure you do that with every complex number of this nature. 4 plus 3i. So is the division of these two complex numbers going to yield what we just got as an answer? Let's double check. Calculator does yield a final answer of a decimal 0.2 minus 0.4i, or if you prefer, math to fraction, decimal to fraction using the math button. There it is, 1/5 minus 2/5 I. So your graphing calculator does have the ability to kind of prove out, so to speak, what you've already done. Applications. Each complex number corresponds to a point in the complex plane. We can transform the rectangular coordinate system into the complex plane, where the y-axis becomes the imaginary or I-axis, and the x-axis becomes the real axis. The complex number, therefore, a plus bi, is plotted as the point a comma b. So if we had 3 plus 2i, this would be the same as, well, a and b, therefore 3 comma 2. So right 3 up 2, there's your point, real comma imaginary. A is in this first quadrant, so to speak. 3i, that's an analysis of 0 comma 3, noting there is no a really, or 0 plus 3i if you think of it that way. So 0 comma 3, there's point B. Point D would be negative 4 comma 0, because this would be like saying negative 4 plus 0i. So there it is, point C, as you see, negative 4, 0. Last but not least, negative 1 minus 3i. This is negative 1 comma negative 3. So left 1, down 3. There you have it. We are not going to follow those homework instructions, so we'll go ahead and delete that. There is a review / follow-up, though, that I want us to consider. This is a full-fledged problem that incorporates what we've been doing, where if I ask you to write a polynomial in standard form with given zeros, you're going to be doing some foiling. Turns out I, let's say, is 1, 0. 1 plus root 3 is another. Now, they are technically missing here, and this is where you see me adding this conjugate. So negative I is the conjugate of positive I, but also the conjugate of 1 plus 3i, 1 minus root 3. 1 plus root 3, 1 minus root 3. So in total, we're going to have 4 factors, and therefore 4 well, because it's 4 zeros, we have 4 factors unfold. As you can see, my analysis takes us to this step. If we FOIL the first 2 factors, we get this, which in turn ends up being this, x squared plus 1. And then we'll do the analysis on these two, similar to what we've done in the past, and we'll get this quadratic. For the sake of time, I will ask that you take a look at this on your own, but yes, you can distribute the x squared. You can distribute the 1. You'll get some terms that hopefully will add up nicely, which you'll see here as well. Vertically speaking, you'll add up some like terms, and in the final assessment, here's your quartic polynomial. Again, because there were 2 zeros to start with, one of which was imaginary, one of which was irrational, you had to find the conjugate pairs to put together in the context of solving this.